Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living, right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest today is Beverly Kievman Copen. We've got a lot to talk about here today, and it's creating positivity. Her mission is to inspire you to want to move forward with your life. Very often we just get stuck in the past. We're not even living in the present, never mind aiming for the future. She says, does it feel impossible to fit it all in? Challenging times like the recent pandemic can add stress and grief to your already hectic life, raising anxiety levels. Residing in Rome, GA, Georgia, Beverly is the acclaimed author of It's Your Life, Isn't It? And for decades, she has been inspiring people through her work as a glass ceiling shattering entrepreneur and an international in-demand motivational speaker, renowned photographer and author. And her newest book offers life tools to deal with those difficult times. She says that she loves helping people find solutions, clarify their values, set goals, and develop plans to make things happen in a challenging and rough time, while making it still very much your life. We're very inclined to kind of live a life by numbers, aren't we? And kind of live a life of expectation or somebody else's dictation, rather than living a life that is of our choice. And what is our choice, and how do we make it, and how do we choose for it to be positive? We need to take a deep breath. Welcome, Beverly.
Thank you. Thank you. Was there a question in there?
Yeah, a question in there. There's so many questions in there. We've got an hour to unravel them. Let's look at the word positivity, because a lot of people throw it out there, but I'm not sure really truly people know it's a state of beingness, not just a state of mindness.
I love the word positivity. I don't know that I have used it, but I may now. I have so many people who say to me, "You're always smiling." That's a good clue that
exactly. That's number one sign. Yes.
Yeah, and others have said, when you walk into a room, you just make the room brighter. I mean, those are really nice things to hear, and it encourages me to continue doing that. So I guess part of what is going on around the world, and where you are, where I am, and other places, is people getting stuck without positivity and not knowing how to move forward.
Getting stuck, that is a huge issue, because we talk a great deal about our emotions here on Self-Discovery Media, and it's like all of our emotions are an indication how we're feeling or how we're reacting to a situation. But one of the issues is we get stuck in that emotion and become emotional about the emotion. And then we can't see what's in the now. We can't see what's forward, can we?
That would be a very good way to describe it. If you're stuck and you can't even turn your head a little bit to the left or to the right, then it's all going to be black or white. You're not going to have any gray. Gray is where I'm hoping to bring more people into the gray area, to be able to have a real conversation without feeling defensive about anything you say, regardless of controversial it is. Just to have a conversation in which you are able to trust someone enough to bring up a topic and not have them shut you off.
A lot of people are afraid of the gray zone, but I look at it this way. You've got a beautiful gray tones in your room behind you. So what it does, it sets the stage for whatever you put up on your walls, or for your presence to stand out. So when we're looking at the gray zone, it doesn't mean it's dull. It's not a harsh black or a harsh white. It's those soft tones, which is setting, that beautiful canvas for your color to come out.
That's a good description. And I know that I, as often as possible, wear very, very bright clothes. You have gorgeous blue eyes, and I am told I have blue eyes as well. But I love wearing tops, especially that are vibrant colors, royal blue, fuchsia, all kind of bright.
Yes.
And it always, people always comment on how it makes them feel.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm huge on color because
Uh-huh.
color carries a vibration,
Yes.
right? It carries an energy. And,
Mhm.
you know, as you said, when you walk into a room, your essence walks into that room, but the color of your vibration from not only what you wear, but who you are, it
Mhm.
is what precedes you. It's the, you know, oh, I can feel it coming in the room.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I heard once in a big meeting with a lot of very wonderful women many years ago that a lot of people walk into a group of people, not so much anymore, but formally, and look around to see who they know and decide who they want to talk to.
Mhm.
Whereas, especially if it's an organization and you know some people and you don't know a lot of people, but one of the women got up there and says, didn't say, she acted. She says, when I walk into a room, I'm looking around to see someone and I say, oh, there you are.
I like that.
Isn't that lovely?
Yes. You feel that person, right? You're drawn to that vibration and you
Yeah,
feel them. And it's like, I want to know this energy.
yeah. Well, one of the things that I love doing is just as I do a lot of walking around where I'm living. It's adjacent to a lovely college, Berry College, with about 2,500 students. That was founded in the 1800s by a fabulous woman named Martha Berry. And so there are 27,000 acres of this college, this whole property where we are. And there's so much room to walk and peaceful. And even with all the students right next door, it's just so quiet and peaceful. And that's what I like to do first thing in the morning, if it's not raining or too cold, is that. And it gives you great time to think, bless you, to think or to feel or to watch the deer coming and going.
Mm.
Uh, and you feel like you're in a different place. So that kind of thing is a wonderful thing to do for those who feel trapped, shut in, because all during the 2 years, in Sedona, I would always go out walking by myself with my sweetheart, and you just absorb the beauty, and it has to make you feel better.
Rejuvenates you.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people have said to me, you know, in my coaching practice in the past, you know, I just don't know how to open my heart again. You know, it's been wounded and it's switched off. And I say, very simple, go in amongst nature. You know,
Mhm.
watching squirrels climbing a tree, puppy dogs chasing, you know, a stick, children laughing,
Mhm.
the trees and the leaves rustling as you walk by, the wind gently going through your hair, the water up against, you know, the shores. If you can't be moved by that,
Mhm.
then, you know, maybe your heart left you altogether, but it is a heart opener. It makes you smile. And if you are smiling, that means you are attaching, you are feeling, right?
Yeah.
And it's a good feeling. So if it's a good feeling and we feed the good feelings,
Mhm.
then we can stay or walk towards that state of positivity, right? Because that's what we're feeding.
Yes. Part of the book, It's Your Life, Isn't It? Is actually my fifth book.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know the little brief story behind it, because it's really a touching story.
No, please share that story with us.
Okay. I lived in Japan for 3 years. I went with my husband, and it was a complete something I always wanted to do, not to live there, but to go to Asia, and especially Japan. So I was really looking forward to it. And I went, and I knew nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't speak their language. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just an extraordinary feeling of completely reinventing myself,
Mm-hmm.
because no one knew me, knew what I did well or what I didn't do well. Anyway, so I studied the culture, because that is how you get to live, how people live, how people work, how people play. And so I really did know it well. And then at the end of my 3 years, I went back home and I got an invitation a year or so later from a Japanese woman saying, could I come over and have, they were having a program on entrepreneurship. And they would like to have me come over and speak. It'll be a 3-hour program, but you'll have about 45 minutes. And they paid my way, and I zipped from Atlanta, Georgia. And so when I got there, it was a little surprise because guess what? There were no other speakers.
Ah, nice. Thrown into the deep end. Can you swim?
Well, I discovered I know how to swim.
Right.
And so because I studied the culture, I knew what I could say.
Right.
And not
Yes.
offend anyone. So I explained to the people, there were men and women, that here's my part. It will take about 30, 45 minutes. And then the rest of the time is up to you because you paid your money, you're here. And I know that maybe some of you don't feel comfortable raising your hand and asking a question. So I have paper and pen for you to be able to do that. And if you don't want to do that, you can go home. And they all laughed.
Free choice, right? Free will.
And so 3 hours later, 3 hours later, it concluded, and a young woman, Japanese, came over to me and said, Beverly, I like the way you think. Would you be interested? I represent a very large publishing company in Tokyo, Diamond Publishing. Would you be interested in writing a book for the Japanese market?
Oh.
And we will publish it. Yes,
exactly. Keep the composure. Don't let me think about that. Yay!
Yeah. And so I worked on it with her for over a year and wrote it. And the title was It's Your Life, Isn't It? So it was very successful. They translated it into Japanese and it was published in Japan. It had never been published in English. And so during COVID, I found the manuscript in English, of course, on my computer. And I said, wow, the similarities relating to change and people, things that are not in my control ever. Nothing is in my control anymore.
No.
And so it was happening in Japan and it was happening here. So I said, I'm going to go through this entire book and re-edit it for a global audience. And I did that one chapter a week. And so then, of course, I named it It's Your Life, Isn't It? Because I now own the rights to it totally. And I was quite pleased at the similarities that were happening in the book. And it did make a difference to a lot of people in Japan. I know that because they would tell me. Anyway, so I had a PDF now of a book that no one has ever read, ever, other than in Japanese.
Right, exactly.
And so I sent it to a few trusted friends, hoping they would give me some real good feedback. And I sent it to a good friend in Ecuador, whose name is Dr. Sonia Roca, and she is chairman and founder of a university in Quito, Ecuador. And so I was starting to get feedback, good stuff, things I would really want to do. And I got an email back from Dr. Roca saying, I read your book, Beverly, and I love it. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have it translated into Spanish, and we're going to publish it at my university. Is that okay with you?
Let me think about it.
So it's now in Spanish. So I say that books fall into my lap. I don't suggest you write a book one day.
Right.
No, you do something. It's different than other people, and it makes you happy, and it makes positivity.
Yes.
And so you've done it, and therefore people want to know how you did that, and that's how the book comes along. And so that's happened for every single one of my books.
But I especially love the title of this one because, again, I'm a huge person constantly saying is that we have been conditioned to live life expectantly. Society dictates, from the moment that we've been brought up, you can't do this, you can't be this, everything you can't. Instead of like there's a beautiful gift inside of you, just waiting for the present to be opened, right? And instead of nurturing the gift that we are and what we're here to do and who we're here to be, we're taught that you must fit into this nice, neat little box with this label on it, whether the label suits you or not. So the title of It's Your Life, isn't it? I love it because it's, yes, folks, it is your life.
It is your life.
Right. It is for you to do with it as you see fit. The only condition is that it does no harm to anyone.
Of
right?
course. Of course.
And when you have that in your heart and soul, when you actually are in a state of love and that higher hurts, you can't knowingly do harm to anyone because it hurts you, right? So, but taking charge of our life, so many people are living, yes, but everybody expects me to, I should do this, or maybe I should be like that person. No, this is your book of life. What are your chapters in it? And anything that can help us be our own book of life is wonderful. And I'm very apropos right now where so many people are kind of flapping in the wind and not knowing where they belong. Well, first and foremost, darling, you belong with you.
Yes, you belong with you. And I want to make sure that you recognize the subtitle of the book, because I think that is equally as important. I'm reading it.
Right.
Making a difference begins with, I have an idea. And that's part of what I wanted to really convey, is that there's so many people the ones who say, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to fit in, that if you have an idea and you think it's viable, then don't let anybody pop your bubble. You have to pursue it and to the best of your degree, and listen to advice, listen to good suggestions, but don't let somebody come along and just go, boop, pop, that's a stupid idea. No, don't let that happen. This is your idea. This is your dream.
Because they can't see it doesn't mean it can't be seen. It just means that those people haven't got the right glasses on, or they're not ready for it. And, very often you can have an idea that it's out there. I've always been an out there person, I've always been kind of that bit of freak of nature. And for a lot of people, I just didn't get it. And I used to kind of worry about that. Why aren't they getting me? What way should I bend, for them to get me? And to realize if they don't get me, they're not ready for me. And the people that do get me are on that same vibe, and we can do things together, right? So it's, don't worry about if somebody doesn't get what your dream is, what your passion is, or who you are. Because there is somebody out there that is waiting to meet you.
Yes. When I was a sophomore in high school in Atlanta, Georgia, United States, I discovered that I was within one credit of being a senior. So I told my mom, my dad and mom were divorced at that point when I was 12. And I said, I'd like to just go straight into the 12th grade. I had an older sister, it would be with her. And my mother said, why would you want to do that? And I said, why not?
Exactly.
And that has been my mantra for all of my life. Not why, but why not?
You don't know what you're capable of until you try. And if it doesn't work out, it's not a failure, it's a lesson.
Well, the failure would come as you didn't try at all.
Exactly. 100%. Oh, no, I can't do that. Oh, no, what if I fail? Well, falling on your ass is just a way of showing you how to get back up, right? Okay, all right. And let's take skaters. How many times do they literally fall? And every time they fall, they learn to fall better so they can spring back up, right? And, don't be worried about the mistakes, or if you want to give it the dramatic failures, I think, as you said, failure is not doing anything at all. But if something doesn't work out, doesn't mean it's a failure. Just means there's a redirect or a different way to look at it to make it work. Or maybe it wasn't meant to work in this capacity. Maybe it is an extract of that will work better over there. And it's, if you're not open to the wonderment or to the possibilities, to the possible creativities, you're never going to see it.
Absolutely right. So part of my book is about not only goal setting, but evaluating what phase of life it is for you right now, whether it's the younger age or that era and you just want to find a job finally and that I really want to do, or whether it's different eras of your life. And so it's geared, I literally have it broken down into a different, the first half of your life or the second half of your life, or whether you have going through this, and that. Depending on what you're going through would be depending on what would be nice for you to reevaluate. If you're writing down, I'm a big component of writing down things that you want to do, think you could do, ideas that you might have. If somebody wants to write a book and they don't know how to begin, I say, take a little yellow tablet and take it with you everywhere you go.
Yes.
And just make notes, any thoughts you have. Just keep doing that. And all of a sudden, one day you'll say, aha, now I think I know.
And I think just on that point too, we've got these things called phones where you can just press the recorder on it, right? And very often a statement or a couple of lines that you say is basically, the compass for your chapter, right? It doesn't mean that you have to write your whole chapter down unless that's what's driving you at that moment. Don't drive and do that, please. But it's about sometimes just that statement. What does it open up in you? And there's a floodgate of information then ready to come through.
Can I tell you another story?
I love the stories.
When Michael Kievman was ill, we were married for 10 years, and then he had a really bad case of diabetes and lost one leg and then the second leg and almost his life. And so I had a little private notebook because it was 3 years of my life that I had to put on hold, stop everything.
Yes.
Everything is now on hold, period, that I've been working on for 3 years. So I had a private notebook, a little steno pad, and I kept writing down all the awful things, the bad things that I want to run away, all kind of things like that. But it was for me. Nobody else was ever going to see this private notebook. And so I started to write another book. This time I was writing one from scratch, so to speak, called The Joy of the Journey. And I got stuck. I wrote a chapter or something, and I just got stuck. And so I went to one of my wonderful friends in New York City, who's a best-selling author. And I told her my situation, and she said, Beverly, the reason you can't move forward with that is because you're in the middle of it.
Yes.
If you can write how you're dealing with this incredible situation that you're in, then you have a story. So I thought about it. I got my little private notebook and I started reading it at my computer. And all of a sudden, the title came to me. I wrote down the title, For Better or For Worse. Immediately came to me. And within 2 weeks, I had completely outlined the entire book and written 2 sample chapters, sent it to her. She showed it to her agent, and they offered me a contract to write the book.
You see, when it's right, it's right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, sometimes, you're not afraid to go and ask people.
Yeah.
Right? And, so many people are afraid to ask people for their opinion because they feel it's criticism and judgment. But when you can say it's an objective view, not criticism, not judgment, it's an objective view, a perspective, then you're able to receive what it is they give you back in a more fruitful and productive way. Yes. Right? But very often that judgment and that criticism, we feel, there are some people that's all they can do, right? That's who they are. But if we're afraid of that, that's what we're going to attract. But if we're actually really hungry for somebody's opinion on it, what do you really think? Then what that constructive opinion is really can set us off on another wonderful direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. And because of the challenges that happened to me during that last 3 years of that marriage, I've included that in the It's Your Life, Isn't It book, so that the readers will see that I am not a Pollyanna person.
Right.
I am a real person who has ups and downs. The highs are higher than ever, and the lows are lower than I ever thought possible with what was happening. I wanted to come across as credible.
Yes.
And that's why I included a little bit of that previous book, to let them know that I understand what going through change is.
Yeah. But, you know, this particular show is called Choose Positive Living. And, you know, your opinion of that, you've chosen to live positively. That doesn't mean that you haven't had your Grand Canyons and your potholes and everything else along the way. It just means is that you chose to look at them in a different way and react to them in a different way.
Yes. I don't know why that's so hard.
It's very hard for a lot of people because they get stuck. Again, I think a great deal in self-persecution. You know, somebody else's critique or self-judgment, the feeling of a failure, or I just can't cope, it's overwhelming. There's an awful lot of hypersensitivity. I'm a sensitive. So as an empathic person, I feel a great deal. And this last couple of years, it's been extremely hard because there's so much distress out there right now. And, you know, it's how to kind of protect yourself. And for a lot of people, they're waking up to that soul and that spirit and that higher vibration, which makes them more sensitive. But instead of tuning in to all the beauty of what that sensitivity and that compassion and that caringness for each other, it's become an anxiety. So a lot of people are living in the anxiety and they don't know how to deal with it, or how to move on from it. So your practical approach is something that this is a skill, this is a tool, this is what you can do to shift that feeling. Because what we're wanting to do is come out of that feeling. It's not productive. It's not helping us. It causes dis-ease, right? So we don't want to get stuck there. It's what can we do about it? That's where we want to go.
Yes. Yes. And that's why I kept making notes of everything that I was doing in the time of the first year of the pandemic. And what I love to do, which is have a group of friends. Some are very, very good friends and some are acquaintances. I would reach out to different people at different times and say, coffee. We have a wonderful Hilton in Sedona with a big outdoor yard, and they served and they had heaters and everything for cold weather. And it was a great place to say, meet me at the Hilton, and we'll sit outside and we'll wear our mask for a little while until we're comfortable with 6 feet apart. But the point is, I would do that often, and I would say, how are you today?
Yes.
Not
Today. This
not
moment.
How are you today?
Yeah. Yes, because we're so busy carrying yesterday. But it's actually today is the gift of the present, right? It's like, how are you in this moment? And it's like all the better for being here, right?
Yeah. It's positive when you reach out to someone else. If you're feeling good about something and you reach out, and even it's just a phone call, a text, an email, sending a photograph, because I do photography, and I'll send a photograph to a few people saying, thinking of you. I mean, it's a way of staying connected and letting them know that that you're thinking of them.
Right. It's very compassionate. There was this lovely statement the other day about it isn't a lack of communication, it's a lack of compassion. And when you step into compassion, your communication is very different. Right? It comes from a place of caringness. What is something that we all want, and that pandemic has taught us a great deal? We want connection. And we have been disconnected through this, or we've been limited, or we've had to find different means, Zoom, whatever, to connect with people, because we realize as human beings, we love connection. But when we become compassionate with each other and how we feel and what we need to be there for each other, right? You know, we don't need to get together over a cup of coffee and have a bitch fest because,
Yeah.
you know, it's not really energetic. It's about maybe all the things that you can do
Yeah.
now and all the things that you can do later and
Mhm.
feed that energy.
Mhm. What kind of feedback are you having with your positivity um, podcast and different platforms? I'm not sure of the terminology of everything that you are doing. I've read a lot about you, and I
Oh,
read it
thank you.
online. Yes, I think
Oh,
it's.
I've been doing it 9.5 years now. And, you know, when I thought actually when the pandemic hit, finally I'll get my book written. No, I normally do 4 shows a week and I was doing 8 to 9 shows a week
Wow.
because I was interviewing the people whose lives and careers have been shut down and how they pivoted and you know and which directions they went in or how they closed the door in that chapter altogether and opened it up to other people. So I
Mhm.
felt it was very, very important that these shows got out there, and it
Mhm.
was also on how to manage your health and your immune system, how to stay positive, how not to get caught up in the tornado and the
Mhm.
whirlwind and everything else. So for me I was even busier, and it kind of translated over into 2021, except for my daughter had a baby, my first grandson. So I took some time out to be a grandma, which I'm loving very much.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is I get to meet people like you who are making a difference in the lives of others because it made a difference in your life. So
Mhm.
you're passing it on, you're sharing it forward. And I
Mhm.
think the best teachers are those that have gone through it.
Mhm.
They've learned the skills and the tools for going through the process, and now they're there to share it with other people and help them on their journey of life. And I think I interview ordinary people doing extraordinary things,
Mhm.
who haven't put blockages in the way. You went to Japan, it
Mhm.
translated into someone wanting a book from you. That Japanese book is in Spanish, it's in English, it's now
Mhm.
opened up a whole new arena because you didn't put limitations on it.
Mhm.
Right? You set it free. And that is an example to people. Don't say it can't happen. You just don't know yet how it can happen, but be open to it happening.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Yes.
Attitude is a huge thing, isn't it? Gratitude and attitude.
Yes. One of the things that I love to mention, it's the last page of the book, is the power of choice.
Yes.
The power of choice. It's a saying in a poem that I have written about it, and of course I'm not going to take the time to read it right now.
People can get the book for that.
Shall I read it to you?
That's up to you.
Oh, yeah, I think I would, because it so fits what we're talking about. Um, 1 second.
I mean, you're epitome of the title, Choose Positive Living.
Mhm.
You know, just because we choose positive living doesn't mean stuff isn't going to happen to us, that negatives aren't going to happen to us. But when you look at things with a positive attitude, you'll always find a way of dealing with it, through it, and because of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so here it is.
Okay.
Power of choice. Regardless of your position in life, your circumstances, or the challenges you are faced with every day, you and I have the most important freedoms in the world. We can see, feel, say, study, write, think, or be anything we choose. It is ours for the taking. Every day, in every situation, you and I have choices and options. We can choose to be negative, or we can choose to be positive. We can choose to be angry, or we can choose to be peaceful. We can choose to be resentful, or we can choose to be grateful. We can lash out and say, why me? Or we can reach out and help someone else. We must separate things that are within our control from those not in our control. We need to let go of the ones not in our control and take action on the ones that are. The power of choice is in your attitude. Life is too short, precarious, and fragile. Your attitude is the one ingredient that will turn around your day, your week, and your life. That is your choice, yours alone.
Perfect. And you know what? Not making a choice is a choice in itself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I interviewed a 10-year-old a few years ago who had written a book, 365 Days with a Positive Attitude. Oh,
Wow.
and it just, I was expecting to kind of be speaking to a 10-year-old and change my whole persona. She blew me away. Just simple things that's like, well, if it's not making you happy, why do you continue to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, as adults, we get so caught up in this higher intellect that we forget the simplicity of living. And it's like, I'm not happy doing this. Now, that doesn't mean that, you don't like doing the dishes or washing the floor, right? That's, not many people are happy doing that, but it is something that you do so that you have a happier environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is a journey on the way to your happiness.
Mm-hmm.
But doing something day after day that makes you miserable,
Mm-hmm.
why continue to do it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fascinated that you said you had this amazing conversation with a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yes. And, that's another thing. The oldest person I've interviewed is 89. The Pink Lady, she's still got her own TV show and she's just exuberant, wonderful. Esther Schifrin at 82 has written a poem every single day of COVID on social media. You will love her. I'm going to introduce the two of you together. It is about that choice. What are we going to feed? How exuberant we're going to be. Now, you've lost two husbands.
Mm-hmm.
That for some people can be devastating, and there's no measurement of loss. It's your loss. You know what you've lost, you know how you feel, but you decided not to die with them.
Mm-hmm.
You decided to take the love that you had for each other with you on your journey of life because you are still alive.
And then you have the opportunity to reinvent yourself.
Yes, isn't that exciting?
It's really fun.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm 67. I started this at 57. When I was asked to do, would you come and you'd be on my network and do podcasting? And what's that? I had no idea what it was. My first show was live. I pressed all the wrong buttons and it was a Monty Python skit, totally, bizarre. And I did 13 months with her, which was a wonderful training ground, being live, and then I started my own. I had no idea it was going to open my world up to meet such extraordinary people. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things and making them extraordinary people, and their contribution to our existence of life on this planet. And it is beautiful to see, because when we watch the news, we see misery, misery, misery. I say they take a pimple, make it into volcanic eruption. Fear cells, hate cells, misery cells. We're not buying that. Here, you're going to get the people that have chosen to be productive, to be positive, to be creative, and to be, contributors. And being a contributor is just so much more exciting, isn't it?
It is. I love part of my whole mantra is the value of giving back.
Yes. Yes.
I wrote a letter to my I have a blended family, needless to say, and, to when I was approaching my 80th year. I'm currently 84.
84 young.
Yes, 84 young. Age is just a number.
Yes, exactly. It's not your expiry date. You're right.
And I decided my grandchildren, who had various ages, it's irrelevant, but I said, I know everything. At least I seem to know more about them than they do about me, because I don't think they know how to ask questions
Right.
at different ages. And so I decided to write a letter to them. I called it, If I Had a Magic Wand, here is what I would want for you in your lifetime. And so a lot of it, of course, was based on my background, giving them information on who I came from and who were relatives years ago, things that were just be facts.
Yes.
But then the three, four things that I said that I really, really wanted you to think about and take with you is one is planting seeds. Go along. You have to start things, and you may or may not be able to see them through. You have to plant a seed where others will take it and run with it. And so I have wonderful examples of that. So one is planting seeds, and the other is the idea of lifelong learning. Lifelong learning keeps everyone young. And if you're reading a book, if you're listening to a talk, if you're whatever you are, lifelong learning keeps your mind vibrant and keeps you always thinking about something interesting or exciting.
Inquisitive, right?
Yes, it's the value of curiosity and
Yes.
in being inquisitive. And so I'm living next to a college now, and we
Right.
have total access to classes and to speeches and things of that nature at the college, being where I'm living at the Spires at Berry College. So lifelong learning is critical. And then the other is simply making a difference, that it is important to reach out and make a difference in life. Whatever you do, you have to include that in it. And there were probably a couple of other things as well, but
Those are very, I'm always referring to, plant your seeds, water and nurture them and allow them to grow. Don't dictate or pull on their roots, allow them to grow. And it's then what you do with the fruits of that growth is, what it's meant to be. And as you say, and we get to a certain age where we're planting the seeds for others to pick. But when they're young, you can plant the seeds for you to pick. But who is it to serve? Because we're all here in service of one another. So, what is your instrument? How do you play it? Which orchestra do you bring it to? But it's understanding every single one of us is a gift. It's how do we use that gift to the betterment of?
Well, part of what led me to think the planting of seeds thing happened to me when I was in my early years of I had started my first business, which was a model and talent agency when my first son was 6 months old, and
That's brave.
I had no plan. I had no idea what I was going to do. But 2 years later, it was the largest travel agents. I mean, not travel, talent agency between New York and Miami, and I had no idea what I was doing that was working. But along the way, I realized there were a lot of women in the field of film and business relating to film who needed additional learning, lifelong learning, being early on. And so I was aware of something that a woman, the editor or publisher of the Hollywood Reporter, T.C. Miles, created a chapter called Women in Films. And I read about that when I was working with the film industry as the first film representative. And I said, I need to meet this lady. And so I called, and when the next trip out to California for the consulting work I was doing, I told her I'd like to find out more about women in film. So we had a wonderful, she came and picked me up in her yellow Rolls Royce.
Long before the Beatles did it.
Yes, long before the Beatles did it. And so I asked her, could I start a chapter, the second one ever in Atlanta? And she said, absolutely, let me know how I can help you. So I did. And so 30 years later, I was found. My name changed just once in a while.
Yeah.
And so the Women in Film organization found me and wanted to come out and videotape how the beginning was. And they wanted to honor me at their next gala. That was 30 years later. There were several hundred people in the audience, and I was honored as the first founder and president. And at that point, there were chapters all over the United States. There were thousands of women who were members. And that, to me, is the essence of planting seeds.
Yes. Yes. And gosh, what opportunities you've planted there. What beautiful, and you watered and you nurtured it and you didn't dictate it, right? And you allowed each one of those beautiful seeds to grow to be the abundance that they were meant to be.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. What a beautiful legacy. It reminds me of Lionel Fieldberg, a beautiful documentarist and filmmaker from South Africa that lives in California now, and the work that he's done and the doors that he's opened. And it's like, we don't know, we can have a vision. I'm a visionary. I get given things and I know the impact it's needing to have. but how, when, and who with it's meant to happen, I don't always know. And it's just like, this is the vision, the kind of the template, and it will come into fruition as the journey takes, but just keep watering the seeds, right? Keep weeding those weeds and allowing things to grow. And from that growth, it will show you what needs to be done next.
It will. And part of what the title of the book, which is Attracts in You, the content is all about, how do I do what you're talking about? Because if you give a motivational speech and you have an audience and you don't tell them how to do it, you've got a group of highly motivated failures, because they're now enthusiastic, but they don't know what to do or how to do it.
I want to do that, but where do I start?
So the strategies in the book all along is, if this is of interest to you, if this type of thought process is interesting to you, here's some steps. It's your choice to take them or not.
Yes.
It's a lot of not pressure, not making anyone feel like they should, could, or need to go to plan B, but they need to have plan B.
Right. And that plan B will kind of, create itself out of implementing plan A.
Yes.
Right. So, from plan A, I need a B now. And that leads to the C. Do I know what the C is yet? No, let me get into B. Now I know what the C is, right? That's how I work anyway. It's allowing, because I've interviewed and worked with people who are very, very structured, and they know their A to Z all along the line and what you should do with each letter of the alphabet. That's not me. I have to feel the way. I have to intuitively feel the way, and what you need to know when you need to know it, when you're in tune with what it is you know.
Yeah.
You've lived an exciting life. I love it. So what's the fourth book? We've covered 3.
Okay. Well, the first one was called Today's Saleswoman. And that was Prentice Hall published that, and that was a long time ago, based on a lot of work I was doing with women in sales all over the United States and Canada. And then the second book was called For Better or For Worse, A Couple's Guide to Dealing with Chronic Illness. The third book was, I was now taking a lot of photographs around the world when I was doing speeches and seminars in different parts of the world. And I had some wonderful images, as I said earlier, of how people live, work, and play. So I was asked to write the book by the same woman, Sonia Roca, in Ecuador. And I called the book, Your Eyes Are Your Windows to the World. It was for young people in middle school age, with a complete educational plan in the end of the book. So I learned that young people respond well to my photographs.
The visual stimulation.
That they can walk through and wonder whether they could or should.
Yes.
And so it was beautiful. And that is still available, even though it was almost 15, 20 years ago, as an ebook. But it's all about helping people open their eyes.
Yes.
To see what the world is like, what their world is like outside of their windows.
And what one picture says to one person, it says something different to the another. Because, inspiration begets invitation. And when you're inspired by something, it invites you to explore, to believe you can. What if that's me? But that a picture that opens up the what if possibilities, or how does it, or I wonder why, anything that sets you on the intrigue to ask the questions.
Yes.
Right.
Ask the question.
People are looking for answers, but they don't know what the question is.
That's really a good thought process. It really is. Listening, having this conversation with you is causing me to realize something that I'm finding important for me to know, is that I have used parts of each one of my books to build upon what was before and to update it.
Yes.
And so It's Your Life encompasses all of the content of the other books and the messages relating to specifics, people like saleswomen or selling or something like that, or dealing with a chronic illness loved one. It encompasses everything, but with strategies on how to move forward. So I appreciate your making me realize that that's part of what I have done.
But that's called the lifelong experience. You know, when somebody's in their 20s and they're starting out, the most fruitful thing they can do is talk to somebody in their 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Mhm.
How did you do it? What's your perspective?
Mhm.
How did you manage this? Because they're the ones with the golden nuggets of information. Why?
Yeah.
Because they've gone through it. So taking, you know, smidgens of each chapter of your life and putting it basically in your book of life, it
Mhm.
is like, for anybody who's reading it, it's a, oh my goodness, you know, wow, when, if this ever happens to me, I know what to do. Or my God, the courage and the strength she had to do this. Oh, I didn't know you could see things that way. This
Yeah.
is what we want to do, is open up the hearts and the minds of people
Yeah.
to believe anything is possible. It's just a question of knowing how to do it. You
Mhm.
know, the right question to ask. What
Mhm.
does it mean to you? It is your life. How does it resonate with you? What
Mhm.
can you do with this information to
Mhm.
help your own life move forward? And the
Mhm.
best information are the teachers that have gone through it in life. They're the best teachers in life.
Mhm.
Wonderful. So yes, the accumulation of your life is this abundance of wisdom for very lucky people who hear you or read what you have to have written.
Thank you. And I think that's one of the beauties of the concept of having a place for seniors that is
Mm.
independent living adjacent to a college or
Yes,
university. You're blending the
yes.
youth who are there to learn, and they're more likely to want to ask those questions than,
Especially if it's in that wonderful casual environment.
yes.
You know, it's not like, you know, this older person's being thrown on somewhere, gee, have I got to listen to this? But more of a happenstance in the same cafeteria or same coffee bar and
Mhm.
having a conversation,
Yeah.
right? That's the illumination,
Mhm.
because they're going to hear when they're ready to listen, not when you dictate they should listen.
Mhm. Very, very, very good thought process right there.
Mm.
Because you have a ton of them. I'm very impressed with what you do and how you're doing it.
When you live a certain length of life, you know, you've gathered your muscle on the way, haven't you? You've learned what to do with it. And I think a lot of people are afraid of getting older. And yeah, okay, maybe, you know, the body doesn't move as fast as it does. I live with an 88-year-old who has more energy than I do. She has an exuberance over life. The Christmas tree is up, every tinsel, everything that can be tinseled is. The excitement, she keeps coming to my door. You know what? Christmas is only so many days away. And that is just intoxicating, her exuberance for life. On the other hand, her memory is going. And I have to be there for those things, because that's where the ball has been dropped. We went to Montreal in September, which was her hometown, and she just tried to do it all in one day, show me every part of Montreal, of her history, where she was brought up. It's like, slow down, I'm exhausted. But
Mhm.
to see it through her eyes,
Mhm.
right, to see her memories, to, you know, when she did this and whom she loved here and family there, it's just so much more exciting. And if we pay attention to people who have journeyed before us and
Mhm.
choose to hear their stories, we'll realize how illuminating, how exciting, and how inviting they really are.
Mhm. That's beautiful. And one of the things that I remember mentioning in my book is if you need help or guidance, adopt a mentor.
Yeah, yeah,
You can go up to someone really amazing, or who that you like or that you respect, and they know stuff you need to know. Ask them, would they consider being a mentor for you?
yeah.
I don't, that's a kind of a foreign concept for a lot of young people.
Yes, yes. You know, would you be my inspiration? And a lot of people go, "Oh, I inspire you." But we don't know what's going to trigger someone into a different direction or a different illumination. It's not for us to know that. It's just for us to be there to answer the questions or get into the conversation. Because from that, they will find what they're looking for.
That's right. I believe it. I believe it.
You know, one of the shows I absolutely love, and I always thought this, you know, as I get older, what I would like to have in life, you know, is the Golden Girls. You know, 4 women, all very diverse, you know, living together, kind of sharing all the expenses and life doing. And I think, what a way, you know, if you're single, to live your life out with a bunch of good people where you can laugh and do things together. Because, you know, you've been widowed twice, which is awful, but at the same time, you're still living and joy is still in your repertoire, right? So it is how to find that joy moving forward, you know, when you've had the loss. And I think it's important to realize that was their book of life. You were a part of their book. They were a part of your book in your chapters. That has come to an end, but it doesn't mean you've come to an end. Right. What else have you still got to give? What else have you still got to share? What else have you still got to experience? And if we still live in that wonderment, we're still going to get so much more in life, aren't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One last thing, I know that, you know, at some point we might have to stop. But I have a group of longtime, lifetime friends. I call them my Yayas. You know, the Yaya Sisterhood. And so we're down to 5 people now that have been with me for 60 years, originally with my talent agency. And we have stayed together, sometimes more than others. But over the last 2 years, we've been in different parts of the United States, and we're not quite as willing to travel.
Right. Yes.
So we have set it. We began setting up a date every 2 weeks on Zoom. That just the 5 of us.
Right.
And that's what we would do. And we would just talk about anything the Golden Girls would have talked about.
Yes.
And we laugh and we cry. And it's just been, it was a great thing to start. And we're still doing it, not as often right now, but they're going through, a couple of them are going through some big losses. And so, but they know that we're there for them.
Right. Goes back to that word connection again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We want to be connected. It's in our human DNA to be a part of the tribe, a part of the village. And that village is only as strong as everyone's participation in it. Yeah. Everybody has a purpose in it. And when we can recognize that, and we can get together with like heart, soul minded, or people that have journeyed with us in life, it's a beautiful thing to reminisce and to share and to encourage. And to support and to love one another, because ultimately that's what we all want.
Yes. Yes.
How many of your books are still in print?
Well, they're 4 out of the 5.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And how do people get hold of them? Because I want people to read every one of your books.
Okay. The best way is my website, which is my name, Beverly Copen. .com. That's my website.
And Copen is C-O-P-A-N?
No, like open the door with a C. C-O-P-E-N.
E-N. Okay, yes. C-O-P-E-N.
Copen. BeverlyKopen.com. And it's got all the books listed and how to get them. And so that is pretty darn good. The only one that probably isn't available is the Japanese version.
Right, right.
I didn't think that would be too much of a problem, though.
Yeah, I suppose. Is it still in print in Japan?
Apparently so, but somebody told me they bought one recently. I don't know how they bought. Maybe they're Japanese and they knew who to contact and
right.
over there. But anyway, the rest are there, and it's a nice, it's very simple website, but it's got a lot of my photography as well. And so I think that would be a little treat, a little eye candy for those who do go to the website. And I would love that. And so what else can I tell you of how they would find me? I live in Rome, Georgia, and at the Spires at Berry College. And so there is a way to reach out. I do on Facebook and LinkedIn. So they could just put my name, Beverly. Sometimes it's Beverly Copen, sometimes it's Beverly Kievman Copen, because my books are published with both names.
Right.
So Beverly Kievman Copen would be one way to enter a name under either of the social media and be able to connect with somebody who might hear this beautiful, hopefully, session that we're having and be able to follow up.
You have some beautiful pictures of Africa here. I lived in South Africa for 11 years.
Oh.
It is an extraordinary country. It is, I mean, it's a place that suffered so great dearly, but it just, the energy of it and the coming together of it, you know, the history of it, it's just so, you know, beautiful. And the, you know, the photography of it, there's just so much to capture there, isn't it?
Yes, it is so much to capture. Anytime I go to any place, I want to not only capture the beauty of the place, but I want to capture the people in the portraits.
Yes, yes. You've got so many beautiful ones here. You know, please go to her site, look at her portraits, look at her pictures, because she really has captured the essence. We want a picture to tell us a story. And, you know, when it can give us that story where, you know, when you look at it and you go, I hear you. I kind of, or I feel what you're portraying to me, or it, you know, it makes me open up and feel in different ways, you know, then we know it's moved us. And I think in a lot of ways, people have become so afraid to be moved. They've become so afraid to live, so afraid to participate. I've been hurt, I've done that before and it didn't work out. And it's like, just because it didn't, and it wasn't a good experience, doesn't mean tomorrow or today can't be a better experience. You learn from those mistakes, you learn from those experiences. Please do not be afraid of willingness to move forward and experience a new chapter in life, because that's what it's about, right? Participation.
It's your life, isn't it?
It is. It is. Absolutely right on, sister. It is. And let nobody tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
You belong to you. The choices you make on behalf of you is the way you're going to live your life. So be kind and caring and loving with you.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate your inviting me to be a part of this. And I hope that we can connect in other ways. I will look again at the things that you do offer and see if there's something there that makes sense for me. And I would be able to reach out to you. I'm quite sure of that.
I'd love to do a round table with you, with maybe Esther. You know, just I think the exuberance of both of your energies, of just the attitude towards life. I mean, in itself, it is a beautiful invitation to people. So I'd love to have you back again.
I would welcome that opportunity. And I thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much. Folks, Christmas is around the corner. Please get these books. This is a wonderful gift to give to people. There are still a lot of people in flux, you know, not quite sure how to pivot, or that crossroads of life and don't know where to go. It's your life, isn't it? It's a perfect something to read, and for you to get to know this is your life. It is your choice. What do you want? What is the best of you that you can bring out and share in a different direction? Just because something's come to an end doesn't mean you're lost. It just means you're in limbo looking for a place to go. When you get to know you and your choice of your life, living it for you and your meaningful purpose, now you're full speed ahead. And that's where we want you to be.
It is on Amazon.com as an ebook. I forgot to say that.
Great. It will be all here on your page. All people have to do is put in your name at selfdiscoverymedia.com, and they're going to be able to hear it on 14 audio platforms, video, read the blog, and go to your site and everything. So beverlycopen.com. And I really do encourage you to look at the wonderful photography, to get all of the books. Whether you've missed Christmas or not, because you're hearing this later, it doesn't matter. You know there's somebody, or maybe even yourself. Like, am I living my life for me? Am I really in tune with me? Am I doing something that really compels me to move forward? And if there is a no in there, you need this book.
I love it.
Thank you so much, Beverly. It's been beautiful having you here.
It was beautiful to get to know you a little better. Thank you so much.
Right back at you. Folks, Look at this beautiful, exuberant woman with such wonderful journey of life that she's now here sharing with all of us. And it's, please, whatever you're at the present moment, it's just a pause in your life while you recollect yourself, while you discover it's your life and how to move forward, all right? Because nothing is ending. It's only a beginning of a new chapter. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.